Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 episode number 157 based on novel. So let's start. The Dan Tower occupies an extremely large area. After all, it is the top force in the alchemy industry of Yulon City. Although its geographical location is not as good as Luo Feng's cave residence, its land area is hundreds of times larger. Inside the Dan Tower, there are more than 100 buildings of various sizes. The largest one is the main building open to the public, which is also the main building for selling elixirs. Many of the other buildings are places where alchemists live and refine medicine. But in the main building, Luo Feng was sensing the formation of the massive Dan Tower complex. Tower Master Chang Qing did not interfere, allowing Luo Feng to perceive the detailed formation of the Dan Tower. The current formations of the Dan Tower are mostly suited to me, Tower Master Chang Qing said. Brother Luo Feng, see how you want to set up formations suitable for you. Whatever formation materials you need to purchase, just say the word. There is no need to save costs. Fixed formations are generally much more powerful than mobile formations. Luo Feng studied for a moment and then sent a list of formation materials to Tower Master Chang Qing. Tower Master, the estimated cost of these formation materials is around 30 million chaotic origin crystals, Luo Feng said. Good. Tower Master Chang Qing showed a look of joy. I was just afraid it wouldn't be expensive enough. I will immediately send a clone to purchase the materials. Luo Feng was quite satisfied with Tower Master Chang Qing's personality. One reason he chose the Dan Tower was because of Tower Master Chang Qing's great reputation. Not long after, Tower Master Chang Qing returned with the formation materials. Brother Luo Feng, it's all up to you now. Tower Master Chang Qing handed the formation materials to Luo Feng. Luo Feng looked at them and nodded slightly. With his expertise in construction, he was able to design the most suitable fixed grand formation for himself. This fixed grand formation consisted of a total of 36 formations working together. Since it was a fixed formation, the average cost per formation was close to 1 million chaotic origin crystals. Rumble tilde. Luo Feng floated in the center of the Dan Tower complex, controlling the numerous formation materials and beginning to set them up one by one. Setting up a formation was like building a spaceship. A spaceship has systems responsible for structural stability, speed, firepower, and detection. Various systems working together form a complete spaceship. Luo Feng's formation setup was far more complex. The formations he purchased were a combination of creation and destruction unique to Yulon City, with limits that even exceeded his current control capabilities. These 36 formations were all half-chaotic origin level formations, with profound mysteries. Furthermore, different cultivators had different understandings of the half-chaotic origin lifeform path, making activation even more difficult. With his current strength, he could only unleash about 30 to 40% of the formation's power. It's done. Luo Feng spent half a day, not daring to slack off in the slightest, before finally completing the formation. With a single thought, Luo Feng's consciousness penetrated the formation, and the entire grand formation naturally activated. Invisible fluctuations spread around the Dan Tower complex, with its power restrained. Although this fixed formation only unleashes a small portion of its power, it is still far superior to my Xianqing Heaven Annihilation diagram, even surpassing the enhancement of the indestructible heart, Luo Feng thought to himself. This was the advantage of fixed formations. After setting up the formation, Luo Feng flew back to the main building. Brother Luo Feng, well done. Tower Master Chang Qing had been watching the whole time. It's just a small matter. Besides, I will be stationed here long term. The stronger the formation, the safer the Dan Tower will be. Luo Feng smiled. By the way, Tower Master, I want to purchase a large batch of low-level chaotic origin lifeform materials. It's a large-scale transaction. Who do you think would be the best seller? A large-scale transaction? Tower Master Chang Qing asked. How large? At least 2 billion chaotic origin crystals, Luo Feng said. Tower Master Chang Qing was slightly surprised. According to the intelligence reports, Luo Feng had not been in Yulon City for long, so he shouldn't have accumulated much wealth. But 2 billion chaotic origin crystals, even some veteran elders who had accumulated wealth for a long time would find it difficult to produce such an amount at once. This is a huge deal. Tower Master Chang Qing pondered for a moment. There are 13 businesses in Yulon City dealing in low-level chaotic origin lifeform materials. In my opinion, for such a large transaction, Elder Xingyi would be the best choice. Elder Xingyi has an excellent reputation. Even if the deal were 10 times larger, he would still be trustworthy. Tower Master Chang Qing continued, Elder Xingyi has an impressive background. He is a direct disciple of an invincible existence from the darkness sacred world. An invincible existence from the darkness sacred world? Luo Feng was shocked. The darkness sacred world gathered countless experts from origin worlds, with elite cultivators from billions of worlds. To be called invincible there. Tower Master Chang Qing's eyes showed admiration. No matter how dazzling or talented one is, they usually become ordinary once they enter the darkness sacred world. To reach the peak level there is already an incredible achievement. As for being called invincible? Even in the darkness sacred world, that is a legend. Just getting the chance to meet such a person is a luxury. Luo Feng held his breath. An invincible existence in the darkness sacred world? Elder Xingyi is precisely a personal disciple of such an existence, said Chang Qing, the building master. He is absolutely honest in business. All right. When Luo Feng previously sold the corpse of the blood demon Erlis, he sold it to a shop belonging to Elder Xingyi. The other party offered a high price, and Luo Feng also obtained Elder Xingyi's communication imprint. Luo Feng's cave dwelling. Luo Feng sent a message to contact Elder Xingyi and also sent a procurement list. After the air in front twisted, a figure appeared. He had a body resembling a tree, with branches growing all over him. Even his facial features had small patches of green blooming, and his smile was bright. Brother Luo Feng, are you planning to procure such a large quantity of materials? Elder Xingyi was a little surprised. I feel that since you're purchasing several low-level chaotic origin life-form bloodlines, there's no need to buy those miscellaneous materials anymore. Please, Elder Xingyi, help me procure everything according to the list, Luo Feng said. All right. Elder Xingyi smiled. This is quite a big business deal. As you know, the prices of various materials for low-level chaotic origin lifeform are very transparent. Luo Feng nodded. He had sold multiple low-level chaotic origin lifeform corpses himself, so he understood the costs involved. This is the lowest price I can offer. Elder Xingyi sent over a price list. Luo Feng glanced at it and was quite satisfied. Elder Xingyi is indeed honest. Let's go with this, Luo Feng said. All right. Elder Xingyi was delighted to hear this. Many of the materials you're purchasing are rather rare. Even in the Nine Rivers Sacred World, procuring them across all 35 cities would be somewhat troublesome. I'll have some materials sent over from the Darkness Sacred World. I estimate that we can complete the transaction in 3 days. Do I need to pay a deposit? Luo Feng asked. No need, Elder Xingyi didn't mind. I'll come to your cave abode in 3 days. All right, we'll do as Elder Xingyi says, Luo Feng nodded. 3 days later. Elder Xingyi arrived at Luo Feng's cave dwelling. Elder Xingyi wore a loose robe, under which his tree-like body was visible. There was also some sap oozing from his head. Even his smile carried an endless vitality which made Luo Feng feel a natural sense of goodwill toward him. Brother Luo Feng, please take a look. Elder Xingyi took out a spatial ring and allowed Luo Feng to inspect it freely. Luo Feng checked with a single thought. Numerous low-level chaotic origin life-form materials were inside, along with several complete chaotic origin bloodlines, each carefully preserved. Luo Feng briefly observed these bloodlines and quickly determined their levels, understanding their fundamental mysteries. Everything looks good, Luo Feng said as he took out a cloth bag. 2.83 billion chaotic origin crystals. This was Luo Feng's most extravagant purchase to date. Brother Luo Feng, if you ever want to buy superlimit bloodlines in the future, you can always come to me, Elder Xing Yi said with a smile. Even if they aren't available in the Nine Rivers Sacred World, I can procure them from the Darkness Sacred World for you. They are simply too expensive. I'll wait for the future, Luo Feng sighed. After obtaining the 5 billion chaotic origin crystals from Palace Master Yuan Xiong, Luo Feng had enough wealth to make substantial purchases, but he still had to consider cost-effectiveness and efficiency. After procuring from Elder Xing Yi, Luo Feng also bought various auxiliary cultivation medicines worth 500 million chaotic origin crystals from the Dan Tower. Additionally, he prepared some gifts for his masters, Di Chu, Sitting Mountain Guest, and the Primal Chaos City Leader, before quietly leaving Yulon City. Since he was carrying extremely valuable items this time, Luo Feng naturally brought his indestructible heart and discreetly left Yulon City through his space treasure. Luo Feng once again returned to the origin continent inside the Star Tower. Rumble. All the materials and items he had procured were laid out. Luo Feng's forehead opened to reveal his Eye of Life and Death. Under the observation of the Eye of Life and Death, which rivaled high-level chaotic origin life form, he could perceive the deeper mysteries within each of these materials and bloodlines. This is a descendant of the Nirvana Fire Calamity Serpent clan. At the early stage God Emperor, Luo Feng observed the 15 fragmented materials in front of him: teeth, scales, bones, membranes. I've been comprehending this for a long time. Using the Eye of Life and Death to observing these 15 materials, I have thoroughly studied the mysteries of the early stage God Emperor Nirvana Fire Calamity Serpent clan and have completed my understanding in my heart. Luo Feng looked at a jade stone beside him, within which a bloodline was burning with black flames. This is a refined complete bloodline of an early-stage God Emperor Nirvana Fire Calamity Serpent. A complete bloodline contains all its mysteries. Luo Feng was quite expectant. Now, let's see how much my mental completion of the mysteries differs from a complete bloodline. In the past, he had always cultivated through the poor man's method, gathering bits and pieces of materials, comprehending their mysteries from fragments, and then mentally completing them to form a cohesive understanding. Luo Feng observed the black flame-burning bloodline with his Eye of Life and Death. Luo Feng was slightly stunned. The mysteries I mentally completed are too crude. This is true natural perfection. Luo Feng had learned a great deal. Using the Eye of Life and Death to observe over a dozen fragmented materials, carefully studying them and mentally completing the understanding was like solving a complex problem. Meanwhile, a complete bloodline was the perfect answer naturally nurtured by the infinite chaotic origin dimension. After solving the problem and comparing it with the answer, Luo Feng immediately understood the gap. So life and destruction can be combined in such a way? I've learned something new. Luo Feng was overjoyed. He carefully grasped the methods of integrating these mysteries. Though it was just a low-level chaotic origin life-form bloodline at the early stage God Emperor, it was still an immensely valuable gain for him. After all, these were beings that were born to jump out of the cage. Luo Feng's Eye of Life and Death at the center of his forehead opened. This complete bloodline burning with black flames appeared multi-layered in his observation. The countless secret patterns in each layer intertwined, and ultimately, the numerous layers perfectly merged into a whole, forming a bloodline that was naturally born to jump out of the cage. Such a combination is enough to jump out of the cage? Luo Feng was mesmerized. A mere low-level chaotic origin life-form bloodline at the early stage God Emperor level had, right before his eyes, unveiled the secret of jumping out of the cage. The completion methods I had in mind before were full of flaws. My hometown, Earth, once said to learn from the natural world. Now, by comprehending the bloodline of chaotic origin creatures nurtured by nature, isn't that also a way of learning from nature? Luo Feng felt a deep reverence in his heart. Not to mention the complete fusion of life and death, even just the ways of combination alone are already so numerous. I need to extract them one by one. Luo Feng immersed himself in the process. The first method of combination. The second method of combination. Each method, when thoroughly extracted, was extremely difficult. Only by grasping the essence of their combination from countless secret patterns could he finally refine universally applicable combination methods. During his comprehension, Luo Feng also took some auxiliary cultivation treasures, significantly enhancing his thought processing speed. After all, even with the thinking speed of a god emperor, comprehending these mysteries of jumping out of the cage was still quite strenuous. Even so, it took him more than an epoch to completely comprehend this early-stage god emperor bloodline, the Nirvana Fire Calamity Serpent bloodline. Although I have refined many methods of combining life and death, I still lack the fundamental perfect unification, Luo Feng thought. Countless combination methods still needed to be perfectly unified in order to truly transcend the cage. And this is only the weakest life form that has jumped out of the cage, Luo Feng sighed inwardly. I can't even grasp its true essence. Among innate chaotic origin life forms, an early-stage god emperor level being is indeed the weakest. Still, this chaotic origin bloodline has already given me immense gains. Luo Feng was quite satisfied. From just this weakest bloodline alone, he had refined a total of 19 methods of combining life and death. If these combination methods were applied to his own Tao of life and death, his strength would naturally improve greatly. No rush to integrate them into my Tao of life and death, I should focus on accumulating more first. The second bloodline, the Ghost Hunter bloodline, also at the early stage God Emperor. I had previously attempted to complete it using 12 fragmented materials, but my method was clearly incorrect, Luo Feng pondered. Now, based on his newly comprehended 19 methods of life combination, he planned to refine a new completion approach. It took him a full 1,000,000 days before he was finally satisfied with the completion. Only then did he begin observing the early-stage Ghost Hunter bloodline with the eye of life and death. It's already about 60 to 70% similar, Luo Feng revealed a delighted expression. If the completion of the first bloodline had been crude and full of flaws, then the completion of this second bloodline was already taking the shape of a perfect answer. I'm on the right path, Luo Feng grew increasingly excited. As he carefully observed the Ghost Hunter bloodline, now with ample cultivation resources, he could feel himself continuously improving. At this moment, the only thing limiting his cultivation speed was his comprehension speed. His thinking speed at the God Emperor level was still too slow. If I were a high-level chaotic origin life form, my comprehension speed would probably be at least 10,000 times faster than this. Take it slow, he thought. If my speed is slow, I'll just spend more time on it. Luo Feng now felt even greater gratitude toward Palace Master Yuan Xiong. The 50 billion chaotic origin crystals from Palace Master Yuan Xiong had helped him immensely. Perhaps Palace Master Yuan Xiong had been deliberate in gifting him 50 billion, such a massive fortune, if spent wisely and without extravagance, was enough for a god emperor to cultivate comfortably. Luo Feng swept his gaze over the surrounding bloodline materials. In the early stage god emperor category, there were a total of 323 types of bloodlines. In the middle stage God Emperor category, there were 257 types. In the late stage God Emperor category, there were 152 types. These first three categories seemed like a large purchase, but given Luo Feng's wealth, the expenditure was quite manageable. It had only cost him 830 million chaotic origin crystals in total. For the perfect God Emperor bloodline category, he had purchased 36 types, costing a total of 1.92 billion chaotic origin crystals. This was what Luo Feng valued the most, as it represented low-level chaotic origin life forms pushing their bloodline potential to the extreme. The profundities of these bloodlines were rich enough because low-level chaotic origin life forms at the perfect God Emperor, who contained the essence of life and death, were incredibly rare in the Nine Rivers sacred world, making such bloodlines scarce. Elder Xingyi had specially procured a batch of these bloodlines from the Darkness Sacred World and delivered them to Luo Feng. Each bloodline had more than 10 corresponding materials. Luo Feng had also purchased some of these bloodlines. The additional materials had cost him quite a bit, and together with the bloodlines, the total expenditure amounted to 2.83 billion chaotic origin crystals. This was after Elder Xingyi had done his best to lower the prices. Fortunately, a single corpse of low-level chaotic origin life form can be refined into multiple portions of bloodline material, so the prices are still within my budget, Luo Feng thought. On Origin Continent, the chaotic origin bloodline creatures cultivated by the Two Kingdom ancestors were not truly beings that had jumped out of the cage. In terms of the essence of existence and vitality, they were still far inferior. Moreover, the Two Kingdom ancestors' bloodline refinement techniques were quite rudimentary. Each creature could only yield a few portions of bloodline material. In the Nine Rivers Sacred World, the utilization of a low-level chaotic origin lifeform's corpse is pushed to the extreme. Any bit of waste or loss is equivalent to losing chaotic origin crystals. Merely extracting all the blood from the body can refine 10 complete bloodlines, or even more. As for those important large bones, hooves, and claws, they can be used for refining weapons, alchemy, or even crafting puppets. In both the Nine Sacred World and the Darkness Sacred World, there are too many powerful beings, and the trade competition is incredibly intense. Every technology has been developed to its near limit, and the biggest cost of all the treasures being sold is the material cost, Luo Feng thought to himself. A fully perfect God Emperor level weapon, if it is just a common weapon made with fewer materials, may only cost about 1 million chaotic origin crystals. A more complex God Emperor level swordship might cost 2 to 3 million chaotic origin crystals. Only massive formations, especially those that are mobile, generally have prices exceeding 5 million chaotic origin crystals. In the Darkness Sacred World, there are too many Dao cultivators at the half-chaotic origin level, so the prices of these weapons and secret treasures are not too high, Luo Feng thought. Truly rare items, such as some secret treasures exchanged from the infinite space treasury, like the indestructible heart, are incomparably precious. Materials from world-class chaotic origin lifeforms cannot be hunted, making every piece extremely expensive. As for treasures in the infinite space exchange that cost more than 100,000 reward points, they all aid in jumping out of the cage, such as the Eye of Life and Death. Even Senior Yuan and the others have only crafted a limited number of them, making each an invaluable treasure. They are even forbidden from being taken out of the origin world. If a cultivator dies, these treasures will be reclaimed by infinite space. The Eye of Life and Death, for example, has already had multiple users before. Yulon City, Nine Rivers Sacred World. Inside a vast cave dwelling. A massive spherical creature was entrenched there. Faces constantly surfaced on its spherical body, resentful, insane, asleep, laughing, indifferent. These various faces influenced the surrounding area. Low-level chaotic origin lifeforms often infiltrated the city, but none ever dared approach this enormous nest. This was a rather eerie lifeform of the insect nest, and with its strength alone, it could rival the 3 major regions. The surface of the insect nest was covered in countless dense holes, with cultivators frequently flying in and out of its core area. Master, in the past epoch, our pill sales have dropped by nearly half, an old man reported respectfully. Why has it dropped so much? A beautiful woman sat there, somewhat surprised. After cultivating for countless years, her resources came from multiple regions, such as the operations of the insect nest's entire power, theft, plundering, etc. Naturally, she had a share in all the income. Merely the decline in pill sales over one epoch was not a big deal to her, but if this continued, she would be heartbroken. The Dan Tower has recently increased its supply on a large scale, and their pills of the same tier are slightly cheaper than ours. Some factions in the city have begun purchasing pills from Dan Tower in large quantities, so our sales have naturally declined, the old man reported. The Tower Master Changqing is so bold? The woman was surprised. Who gave him the guts? While you were in seclusion, a newly promoted elder-level expert appeared in Yulon City. His name is Luo Feng, and he has joined Dan Tower, the old man reported. The woman nodded slightly and immediately checked the latest intelligence on Yulon City. After reading it, she understood the situation. A newly promoted expert suppressing Tianhe? The woman's gaze was cold. Knowing full well about the conflict between Dan Tower and me, yet still daring to interfere? Just continue normal sales. You don't need to concern yourself with anything else, the woman instructed. You may leave. Yes, the old man obeyed and left. The woman sat there, gazing in the direction of Dan Tower. The city is not suitable for direct action, so let my spiritual clone pay a visit to this God Emperor Luo Feng. The woman remained seated, unmoving. Yet from the massive insect nest, an invisible spiritual force silently flew out. As this spiritual force left, the surface of the insect nest returned to calmness, and the faces ceased to appear. Whoosh! The spiritual force took on the form of the woman and walked through the skies of Yulon City, though no ordinary means could detect her. The multicolored defensive systems of Yulon City brushed past her figure. It's the Lord of the Insect Nest. Why is she dispatching a spiritual clone? 3 elders in charge of the defense system noticed the Lord of the Insect Nest's spiritual clone, but they did not interfere. After all, as an elder of Yulon City, her movements in the city were legal. I'm here. In just a moment, the spiritual clone of the Insect Nest's master arrived at Dan Tower. She raised her head, looking at the vast complex before her. Inside Dan Tower's complex, 2 elder-level figures resided long-term. One was the Tower Master Chang Qing, and the other, of course, was Luo Feng. At this moment, Luo Feng was sensing the formation he had arranged within Dan Tower. These 36 layers of the life and death formation were all refined by different cultivators, each possessing their own understanding of the fusion between life and death, Luo Feng observed. There were parts one didn't quite understand before, but after comprehending chaotic origin bloodlines, I can now grasp much more. Some of the fusions within these formations are actually rather crude. While these seniors had their own opportunities, none of them had the eye of life and death. Even if they purchased chaotic origin bloodlines, they could only observe a portion of them, then infer and comprehend from what they saw. Luo Feng suddenly sensed a strange, eerie chill. The fluctuation was subtle, but upon brief contact, he felt an overwhelming sense of dread. His Lai Yuan technique was constantly operating, naturally resisting this cold invasion. Who? With a single thought, Luo Feng immediately amplified the power of the 36-layer formation. At the same time, his bionic eye of destruction perceived the spiritual female figure standing before the main entrance of Dan Tower. This video will end here.